Vice Esports, they will go back for the Lifestealer. So we've seen this before. Of course, they have switched it up with their position 4 pick. They do go for the Mirana this time around. Now, I'm not sure that's going to make all the difference this game, but I suppose the Lifestealer into the Mars is still a pretty decent pick to make. Well, it's now a question of whether they're actually going to ban out things like the Drow. Because even now with the Lesh Mars, it does feel like the Drow kind of fits again. You can have this kind of insane, snowbally sort of lineup if you so wish. And perhaps Vice might feel a bit more ready for it, but I don't know about this. I think if you do want, you just go ahead and pick up the Drow again.
Yeah, it's such a straightforward pick for Execration if they wanted to. Their banouts as well kind of indicate that. Like when you take out this Bat Rider, that's one way that really deals with the Drow. So they're just keeping that Drow pick safe down the line. I think Vice have to be a bit cautious about falling back into that trap. You exchange the Lina with a Lesh, but that is still really strong. And Execration actually paying respect towards that. CK do take it out. Don't want to run the risk. They did get good control in the CK last time though, but it looks like they just don't want to risk it. There were some times early in that last game where our CK was getting the good reality rips backwards, and Vice do correct that issue. No more Drow, so Execration's going to have to look elsewhere for that fast snowball kind of game.
That they will. Vice Esports, back to their third pickup now. You'd imagine they just go for a support pick here.
10 seconds remain.
Question is what it's going to be.
5 seconds remain.
Well, it looks like they might just be going with the Mirana 4. You don't have any... I mean, that's a decent vehicle for your Lifestealer, but it's not ideal. Might be looking for at the Pause 5 to beef up their Lifestealer. Ogre Magi with a buff is nice. I don't think they should go back to the Lich. Doesn't do anything against the Leshrac. Barely helps you against the Mars. So maybe something like an Ogre could be nice in the front just to help your Lifestealer right click if they are looking for support. And it is the Ogre. So what's that? 2 for 2 so far?
Very nice work, John. Execration, seeing that Ogre, they won't think too long. They do go back into an Elder Titan pickup now, so once again, very snowbally, very kind of aggressive drafting here from Execration. I do like what I'm seeing so far from both teams. I'm still wondering what Execration go to for their position 1, as they haven't quite picked it up yet. Vice Esports, though, their 4th pickup now. They're looking for a mid or an off lane. I imagine we will just see an off-lane pick being made here for Vice. Difficulty being that they still don't know what the position 1 is that they're going up against. So maybe a little bit challenging to decide what exactly you do want. I suppose that can allow you to just go for the mid as well if you do wish, but...
True. It's a bit risky. You have last pick overall for Vice. I think you can kind of avoid the mid pickup. They might just look for something to give their Lifestealer a natural vehicle. Slaughter would have been nice. They go to Void Spirit, so it is keeping in flex now. We've seen Void Spirit off. Could just be our... Here for Bob. Void Spirit is a force to be reckoned with as well. Could be safe. We'll just have to see. Execration right now, with the ET out, they might just be looking at the Lesh core, and it is. So they go Shadow Demon as their support. Really straightforward combos here. Disruption into Stomp, Disruption into Spear, and Disruption to Save, and Disruption into the Split Earth. Set up for all 3 heroes. Very nice Shadow Demon game. And the Demonic Purge gives you control for the Lifestealer. So even if he rages up, he's not going to be safe here.
That he is not. Final banouts now to come. Execration, of course, they got to start focusing in on those offlane picks just in case this Void Spirit is not going to be in the offlane, which it probably will just be mid. They do get rid of the Bloodseeker and the Night Stalker, and Vice Esports getting rid of the TB for now. And the AM. What do you really have left here for Execration as a POS 1? We won't have to really think about it. Of course, the Void was there. Of course it was.
Yeah, it's a really nice Void game. Void ET, Void Lesh coming out. The Void Morse as well, which for some reason we see, but there's not as much synergy. Still, Leshrac, spells go right through the Chrono. The Stomp from the ET, the ult from the ET, and Vice do take the Tide. This is juicy. Tide Hunter slides through. Tide versus Void. Ravage versus Chrono, always fun to watch. Gonna have to see what they pull out here, and it's gonna be a fantastic last game of this series. Tournament lives on the line once more. Both teams need that win to get wrecked by the next patch, because their next match will be in that new patch. So you want to find that win. You want to keep the journey going. I have to say, Mike, you look at Enryu's Tide. He's not all in on the dad bod. Like he's got that stupid hat, but he doesn't have the stomach.
Oh,
He doesn't have the stomach.
Yeah, he's covered it up, John. He's wearing some kind of body armor, which is very upsetting. Very upsetting stuff indeed. I do wonder whether this is going to affect his performance. I suppose only time's going to tell, as we will be getting into game number 3 very soon. And of course, the winner of this will go through to the lower bracket, and the loser will have to go home. Not that there's anywhere to go. They are probably still home, as we are still stuck in a pandemic. But you get my drift, John. They've got to leave the tournament.
Yeah, and you don't want to end your journey early. You want to go up there for the prize pool, Mike. Very tasty prize pool for our teams in C. So you would want to stay in. Still, can be a bit of a challenging one for both sides. Really good back and forth. Every time you see Void versus Tide, it's always just so fun, because you know both sides are going to be playing on the edge, right? They're going to be watching out for who drops what first, what position you can get in for the Chrono, how far you can be for the Ravage. And it just leads to really big team fights from both sides. It's a lot of sweaty situations.
We'll have a quick pause coming out before we do get to carry on, as both people asking for a second, apparently. Overall, when you look at both drafts, who do you think you prefer in this game 3?
I'd give the edge to Execration. It's the Void effect. Like when Chrono's up, the Lifestealer just doesn't win that at all. There's no way you win. You have a lot more synergy as well with the Chrono here. You've got this Leshrac around. You've got the Earth Splitter here from your Elder Titan. You've got really nice lanes with the supports you have. Rupida plus the Shadow Demon is going to be really good. And I think that is something they can opt to do. Really just bully out with. Once you hit level 2, level 3 on that, get the Disruption Spear off, you will have a really nice time. The one issue is Vice do have really tanky heroes in their lanes. Right? Ogre Magi is not something you can bully out cleanly. Palos as well is a life stealer, so they're fairly tanky. And will take a bit to kind of trade out if Execration wants to go for that early aggression. So I think Vice has it in their tank to hold out. But as the game goes on, you're always going to favor Face's Void game. Yoa, as long as he doesn't fall behind early. What are these guys doing? As long as they don't fall behind early, they can. Really just to rely on the Void. And I have to say, you know what you call this when you use those symbols for letters? In the Philippines, we have one word for that. We call it Jedge. Interesting.
Jedge.
Yeah, Jejemon. Because you also type hehe with a J instead.
What?
And it's like, yeah. So it becomes like Spanish, it becomes a silent J. So it used to be back then, you'd type like that, and you'd also type J-E-J-E, hehe. They became known as Jejemon. So it's a bit of a throwback to see that many symbols in all chat, boys.
Well, nothing wrong with a bit of the old school stuff, John. These players are getting old too, I'm sure, John. You gotta appreciate the age that we're coming to now.
Yeah. It's a relic now.
Yeah.
Kids don't speak like that anymore. I think for the better good. But now they say stuff like My Little Pogchamp. MLP.
It's better than My Little Pony, John. I'll take the PogChamp one. It's fine. Looks like there might be a bit of a scuffle over the bounty runes. The bot ones look to be secured here by the Dire side. Meanwhile, top, Enryu and Yoe trying to fight over them, but Enryu does manage to take them away. And we'll turn back around onto the Void. Force him back. So this lane of Mirana Tide versing this Void, it could be quite painful for this Void, right? You've constantly got to be on the lookout for the arrows that could be flying in from this Mirana. Even when they're not, the Anchor Smash is going to be quite frustrating to be up against as the Tide Hunter. Yoe might struggle to find that early farm in the laning phase.
Yeah, they can get that zoning out. Really nice arrow landing onto RR already. That's going to slow him down. And with level 1 Gush, you don't want to be trading too hard. Still, the slaps from the stapler, man, are hard. And Samuel's going to be careful. Look at that. Balanced.
You need that. You need those leap charges up ASAP, I'd say, for Samael. He'll probably stick around and try to soak level 2 off Enryu, as it's just not going to be worth trying to contest this lane if the Elder Titan's allowed to do that every single time. Meanwhile, of course, in the mid lane, looks like you do have Bob and Ken at it once again. Bob this time, he is going to be playing the Void Spirit up against the Leshrac of Ken. And while I was looking away, Samael ends up dropping very low in terms of HP, but nonetheless, he does get a salve. And the point I was trying to make is Bob, you'd hope he has a bit of a better game than last game around. As that tiny game in game 2 was pretty rough for it.
It really was. This time around, he should have a better time. Like, you have much more stable wave clear with your Resonant Pulse on the Void Spirit. You still are a melee up against a range, and this is a lot of magic damage you can expect from Ken. So your Resonant Pulse isn't blocking as much, but it should still be a bit more steady for Bob. You're already seeing that 11-2 up against Ken's 8-1, so not a complete washout yet. Seeing rather even lane so far down bot, though Rupido was being shoved away, is fairly low, and now BDZ is on the wrong side of the map.
That he is. Palos going to chase him down a little bit with Zenki, but they already used the Ignite onto Rupido, so they couldn't quite hang on to the Shadow Demon. Top lane, RR, copying a lot of damage on that Elder Titan, and Samael wants to go for the kill attempt. Arrow is not going to land, but it was quite close. RR is going to try and run, but Enryu is still on the chase, has a gush up, but he needs some vision, and he can't quite find it. So RR going to be able to walk away. Meanwhile, mid lane, Ken is also going to get very, very low, but he is going to be able to avoid that Aether Remnant being thrown out by Bob, and he's going to survive another day.
Yeah, just close calls all across the map. Really forcing our sports to walk back home. RR is going to have to go back to regen. Maybe carry some stuff over for his core. But you're seeing that difference down mid widen. 19-5 now for Bob. Ken 10-1. So Bob is having that good start. And this could make all the difference for Vice. As long as Bob gets off the good level 6 timing, he can be active in the map and start buying some space out for the rest of his team.
That he can. Thing is, now Ken's really giving it back to Bob, and Bob is out of regen. Just has a Fairy Fire up. So he might play with fire and wait for that 4-minute power route. But you'd hope he's able to secure it if that's the game plan here. Bot lane, it's been a bit of a slow start here for Palos. I want to say like 12-2 is not too bad, but it does seem as though BDZ and Rupido have been doing a pretty darn good job in just kind of shutting him down and not making him feel very comfortable in this lane. I mean, Palos has also been left alone for this moment as they have rotated for the 4-minute power runes. Looks like they want to try and make sure Bob has a good time by securing this 4-minute power rune. Problem is Samael will be forced to take it, and that'll mean that poor old Bob will be still left with an empty bottle.
Yeah, no top up for Bob, but that also means no top up for Ken. He is forced to self to hold this lane. So it's rather even. You're still seeing a little bit more EXP out in Bob. He drops the chicken, and again that gap in that gap in last hits still maintained. So you're still happy here on the side of Vice. Slight net worth lead their side. Still waiting for that first blood 4.5 minutes in. Really tempered game out from both teams.
That it is. Top lane, Yoet. Looks like they were trying to throw an arrow out, but bot lane is where the first blood occurs. BDZ able to pick it up on the Shadow Demon using those Shadow Poisons. It's like Rupido was unable to take the kill for himself, and I believe they were trying to give it to him. Still though, first blood going to BDZ, you're going to be pretty happy if you are Execration.
Yeah, definitely. You're giving yourself a slight injection. Not in the hero you want, but at least it's out of the way. Vice, not going to be too happy, but at the same time, if you look at how Palos is doing down bot, he is at least not falling too far behind compared to Rupido. The issue is, Yoe in comparison is having a much better time up top. You are getting more pressure out from Enryu, but he's not been focused too much on slowing the Void. And that could be an issue. Yoe, we've seen what happens when he does go off to this fantastic start. He is saving up for his Mask of Madness. I believe the Morbid Mask is out. So he's still going to hit some really good item spikes here in the Void. And you're going to have to watch that timing when he hits 6. They might just look for an easy rotation out from Ken to make something happen top.
Oh, Ara getting caught out on that Elder Titan is going to go down thanks to Zenki and Samael. Just going to make the retreat now, go for a quick smoke into the mid lane where an Aether Remnant is going to catch out Ken. He's trying to slow him down as much as possible, but a Shadow Disruption is going to come out. Bob is going to dissimulate, trying to get away, but now Ken's going back in for more. That'll be it. Ara even going to rotate to make sure the bottle of Ken is going to be filled up. Looks like the rotation now is going to be up towards that top lane where Zenki and Samael, they might try to go after this Faceless Void. See what they can get done. Or maybe not, because Ara is going to catch them out. That should give enough knowledge to Yoe to stay away right now, as it is quite dangerous around these areas. That being said, he does hold on to the Chrono, so maybe he doesn't feel so unsafe, but he's going to try farming the small camp. Zenki sneaking up behind. Meanwhile, Rupiro does go down to the bot lane, and an arrow does connect up top, which will mean that Yoe is barely going to survive. Stick charges into the Time Walk just enough to be able to get away.
That was very tight for Yoe. Does have the Chrono as well to bail him out, but even creeps were going against him there, so gotta be a bit cautious. This ward is just a bit too much value for Vice. Haven't really been able to work it. They might get RR as a consolation prize now.
They will. RR surely goes down. Enryu going to keep chasing him, and Samael going to leap behind Enryu just in case he needed it. So a slight net worth lead for Vice Esports. Everything looking pretty darn good for them, as 2 of their cores are going to be on top of the net worth graph. Looks like the side of Execration, they're not too far behind, but they might have a little bit of catching up to do.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got this really good Mask of Madness timing out for Yoe, though. This is naked without brown boots, but this should allow Yoe to focus in on that farming game and make use of the space that the rest of his team is building up. However, look at Vice, the 2 supports, Bob, along with Zenki, just looking to make rotations happen. Yoe.
Try and time walk away. Chrono going to be committed, but Bob is going to be able to avoid it. Yoe, that's not the Chrono he wanted. Nice juke out from Bob, forcing out that ulti, and now RR may be in danger. They've got a haste rune available on Bob if they do want to expend it. They'll go in now with the Aether Remnant to lock RR down, and Bob wants to go for a bit of a chase. The Stomp is going to come out, still dissimulate back out from Bob, and he does force out 2 more to TP up to that top lane and rotate, but it will really amount to nothing for Execration.
Yeah, it's a lot of time wasted here by Execration. They're getting some map space out for Vice to play with. Samael is using this well in the bot lane, getting some EXP up on that Mirana. They've also been able to just give Paulus a little bit more breathing room for his farm, and he is doing quite well. You know, top number 2 still in that fort, along with Enryu at number 1. So very smooth start for Vice. They don't have a massive lead, but they have a lead nonetheless. It is still bouncing around with Execration. Execration, for their part, just play with Yoe. No Chrono right now, but buy him some map space, give him some safe jungle farm, get him some stacks. With a Mask of Madness, the Void's farm can escalate really fast.
Ravage bot lane, Yoe getting caught out. Arrow going to be there to follow up. Do they have the damage? They do. Rupiro going to try and go back in, does get Zenki. That might be it, although it looks like Execration, they want to get a bit more than that. They only got a support for a POS 1 trade, and Ryu going to get speared with the Kraken Shell. Going to remove the stun off him. Disruption going to come in, and Kenny even going to rotate on the left track to make sure they get that Tide kill. Meanwhile, on the backside, Bob is going to be there with an Illusion Rune, and Samael going to try and go for the banner and deny. He has no leap charges, however, and this may cost him his life as he does drop, and now Bob even going to walk right past them. Eventually, Execration, they do kind of make it worthwhile for themselves. down at that bot lane.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, but you're still upset about losing your Void. Still, you get some nice needed gold onto Ken. It clears out the bot tier 1 push as well, so it evens out the map control here for Execration. They've got the bottom jungle they can play with safely, and this is going to be where you can expect Yoa to get some safe farm out. Vice, for their part, not quite ready to put Palos in the front line. He's still saving up here for his armlet. It's going to be a bit until that's up. You do have a small window where Execration will have Chrono up while Ravage is down, so this should be the time if they want to fight with Yoe. This is the moment. They can try to use it in this defense, but you've got a big team fight spell, and Vice should be timing this. Not going to look for the clump up until Enryu's ready.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Zenki, Fire Blast gonna fly out. Disruption is there from BDZ, and looks like Zenki is gonna have to pay for this with his life, or maybe not. He'll go for the TP play out, and Zenki is gonna make it.
Oof.
Nice
Courier,
quick. Scurry's just kind of casually just sitting there, and bit of miss micro out from Zenki. I suppose in some way or another they still got some decent gold out of Zenki, but just not quite his life.
Nah, it's still a missed kill, but you know, you're fine with Courier. That does give you a lot of gold to everyone else. Still, look at these stacks being taken out by Execration. Rupido just tanking out. This is what you have to worry about coming out from Yoe. Just getting this free farm up is never a good sign. You gotta be cautious. There's a Moonlight out, but you don't really find anything. They just kind of want to clump around this mid-tier 1.
Well, they've got the Ravage, so I think Vice just want to try and force this tower out. Chrono is up on Yoe, so they want to try and go in, and a lot of pings are coming out onto Enryu. They know the Tide has to die first. The problem is, how do you kill the Tide that quickly? I don't believe they really have an answer to that right now, but they're going to go for a quick smoker. See if they can make it work this way. And in fact, they're going to run straight into that Tide Hunter. Chrono going to have to be expended by Yoe to make sure they can get this kill. But with that Chrono, it should be enough, and Enryu will go down. And now Execration are the ones who want to try and push in that tier 1 mid tower.
They've got a lot of time where the Tide isn't up. No buyback available in Enryu. No Chrono though, so it could be still a bit dicey if Yao is caught out.
Oh, Spear is going to catch out Zenki. However, Bob jumping in with a nice resonant pulse does try and jump out of there as Samael going to chase him down. Yoe, meanwhile, just trying to find his way into Palos, but he doesn't really have much HP. Rupido going to get caught out now, and the rest of Execration, they are just going to run. Yoe, he's going to be fine. Vice, well, they will eventually get that tier 1 mid tower anyway. In fact, now they still have the Ravage up, so they can play around with that.
They've got a big advantage in terms of spells they can use. Execration, it's surprising that they couldn't go for it. Like, you've got this Leshrac with Max Diabolic Edict. Don't find the opportunity. Looks like they will swing towards top, maybe just clear out this jungle while they've got the time. You would want to see Enryu get the opportunity to use the Ravage though, so I think Vice might want to consider going for a push, but looks like they're just getting some stacks up as well for Palos. He does have his armlet up, the Desolator next, so he's going to be able to get some minus armor out, but Bob?
Oh, Bob been caught out. Split Earth's going to be there, and he does not have time to get out. God's Rebuke out from the Mars is going to be enough. I'm not sure what Bob was doing in that position, but he does get speared up and he does get taken out.
Yeah, it's a really good punishment out, but Vice, this is ballsy. They're Moonlit up, they've got the Infest in as well. They're going to be playing 4 versus 5. Not a very smooth time, but looks like they're just going to use this to retreat.
Yeah, I mean, Vice, with the Moonlight Shadow, I guess without Bob, you just don't feel confident. I really don't think they have enough damage quite yet, even with the Ravage out, to really feel comfortable in these team fights without Bob around. Now Bob will be back up, so perhaps it's time for them to try. Execration, they're going to have Chrono back up in 10 seconds, which is just as scary. And Ryu going to move in. We'll go after Ara along with Palos, and Ara is going to die first up. They see Ken on the Leshrac, but they can't really make the chase. Have to let him go. So that's going to be it for now. Vice will take over the triangle, but Execration, they only really lose the position 5 here.
Not the biggest loss for them. The big issue right now is that Vice, although they have managed to hold on to Ravage, it's been so long that Chrono's back up. So they're going to be fighting into the Chrono once more. And looking at Yoa, he has been allowed to farm relatively free here. MKB lined up, already has the Demon Edge. So he is hitting harder and harder in that Chrono. Does become a major threat as Vice. I'd say they're the ones under pressure to play faster. We talked about the Void into late game. Chrono's just such a game-winning spell at that point, and that it's going to be harder and harder for Vice as this game goes late. So they're going to want to play as fast as they can, even if they're finding some steady farm. So a bit of pressure there on Vice.
Torpedo gonna get arrowed up. Earthsplitter gonna fly through, and Ryu in trouble. He's gonna avoid the Earthsplitter, and now a nice Ravage is out. Is it gonna be enough though? Ken still gonna just pole snowber him down into Samael, who is burning alive to Ken. They don't get any more, but with that tide down and with the Ravage down, Execration, they should feel quite confident to try and make a play with this Chrono.
Yeah, it's a massive win for Execration. A really good arena out from Rupert to block any sort of counterattack in. They can't maximize the Ravage, and they're just going to keep going.
BDZ, nice setup there with the disruption. Does help ensure they get Samael.
Dire's bottom tower is in danger.
Things are, I mean, they're still looking great for Vice in terms of how well Palos is farming. This lifesteal is having a great old time, but as a team, it doesn't seem to be working out right now. It seems as though Execration eventually might be able to just take this game based off the fact that they're playing much more coordinated.
That they are. They're just they might not have that massive lead, but they are a lot more stitched together. Vice needs to really pull something out here. Like they Moonlight Shadow once more. They don't have any information about where Execration's at, so they walk up top without really finding anyone. They could set up for a push, but this tower is relatively healthy, and they don't have the best pushing lineup here from the side of Vice.
Well, Zenki, mid lane, gonna get caught out. Yoa will happily take his life. Still have the Chrono up, so top lane looks like they might try to go in. And Chrono is going to be there. They've got the Life Stealer. That's the big target they wanted. Palos, he's trying to run. He'll go for the Infest, but the Earthsplitter are going to drag him back. And it looks like he's going to have to pop out sometime soon. BDC pinging out the right creep. They finally get it. Yoa, meanwhile, trying to go after the Tide, and Ryu going to die. Palos still surviving. Is going to be alright, as now Samael, the one to be caught out. And Palos, he was able to rage TP away. Yoa, it kind of looked like he just gave up on the lifestealer after he got the Infest off. They knew which creep it was, but they just couldn't be bothered going for him. They'd rather go for the others.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity at the same time. They do manage to find some nice kills. Slowing down Enryu is pretty darn big. Vice, again, their movements out are just causing them issues. They're not finding too many favorable trades. They're not really finding the pickoffs they'd want. You definitely start to look at this Leshrac and this Faceless Void and consider that Vice need to jump one of them. I think the Leshrac's going to be the easier target, so picking off Ken should be their main priority before this BKB flies up, because his farm is still being steady there, and they're just going to find more towers. Ken's just ready to roam around the map. They've got the Edict. They do force out the fort, but all Vice can do is try to force down that bot tier 2, which is a bigger tower, but you're still not going to stop Execration from making progress in the map.
Palos still looking very strong on this lifestealer. Looking to go after the Basher next. The mid-tier 2 being pinged up here from Vice Esports. They want to keep the objectives going down on the side of Execration. BDZ going to hang around and get himself prepared for an incoming team fight. He'll go for a disruption onto the Lifestealer, into a spear, but Palos, He's going to be able to rage through it. Rupido trying to fight this one out. He's going to go back in, but the Infest is going to be there. Onto Enryu. They have the Ravage. They'll commit it. It does connect on 3, and that'll mean the Mars does go down. In comes Yoe, however. Back onto Palos. Palos trying to fight, but he cannot. Not into the void. They can still try, but it's looking pretty bad now for the side of Vice Esports. They'll lose Zenki as well. Yoe, he's got the hand up for a high five. Enryu does not want any part of this, but he has been caught out once again by BDZ, and he is going to die. And it looked like a great start to the team fight by taking down the Mars, but after that, they just fell apart.
Just having massive damage issues here from Vice, and they can barely take down the Mars. By the time they take out that tanky hero, they run out of spells, they're out of position to follow up on anyone else, and it's just way too much coming out from Execration. They are so split up in these fights. The Ravage barely connects to more than 2. Even if it does connect to 2 or 3, they're spaced out far enough that Vice cannot conceivably punish all of them. So really great discipline out from Execration. Vice, they've got to wait once more. They are sort of tied into Ravage now. They do smoke up, but this is them hunting without Ravage, without the Ags up and Bob. So it's not the best times. Gonna have to be careful with how they jump in here.
Absolutely. Bob to find RR out, does get the Order Titan. Yoe, meanwhile, Chrono comes in, catching 3 of them. That'll mean Bob is set to drop. They can go for more now. Zenki gonna go down, and Yoe, he found another. It's gonna be the lifestealer Palos, who's trying to run, but he's been blocked off by Rupido, and that'll mean Palos, he should just die here. Eventually. He does not have the Infest. He can try to just man fight this one out, but it's not gonna work out in his favor. And this is beginning to look really bad for Vice Esports, but very good for Execration. As it's an 8k net worth lead now for Execration, and it's really starting to turn into a stomp now.
Yeah, they're finding all the openings. They're really getting the workout. Again, that was Vice smoked up. They keep trying to force these fights without their spells. They're going to try to TP for the defense. It is going to be enough to force Execration away, but this is just Execration back to farming. Yoe saving up for his BKB. And once you have that and the face is void, Ravage becomes a non-issue for this hero. So you're losing out on a big window of opportunity for Vice. And it's at that point where the game is starting to go late and the gold is starting to grow too far for Vice to really pull something in. They just need to play with a Ravage. They have Ravage right now. This is the time when they should be smoking up.
They will. Looks like they've asked Enryu to go for a bit of a bait in the mid lane. Get that Mars. But it appears to not really be the target they want to make the jump on. They were kind of right in not making that decision, as he did have people behind him. Problem is now, they've smoked up and they want to go for a fight. They don't have Chronos. This could be a pretty bad team fight for Execration to try and take. Yoe's going to be bait here. Seems as though Vice Esports are aware of this, however. Bob is going to show himself for a second, getting used up into the spear and the arena. Do you have the damage output, though? No, not quite. Rupido going to be left behind on the Mars and is probably going to drop, and does. So eventually it does kind of work out in the favor of Vice Esports, as now the tips do come out.
Just a bit too keen. You know, Rupido, he just got that blink. He wanted to show it off with his ults as well. And does bite him in the bum. And that's, again, another opportunity for Vice. Back-to-back smokes. Gonna try again. They've got a blink on Enryu. Can jump in for the Ravage if he wants to. Chrono is back up, though. So it's gonna be risky. If Yoe can punish the clump up here, could end up very badly for Vice.
Ara gonna Be spotted out, does break the smoke. However, they found the Yules onto the Void with an arrow out. They might be able to take him out, but no! The Ravage comes out, but the disruption from BTS saving the day into Palos. The Lifestealer in massive trouble. Yoe gonna burst him down. Samiel's gone as well. And now they want more Bob. If the backline's trying to run. Meanwhile, Enryu trying to do the exact same thing, but he's got Ken on top. Ken is gonna eventually just take him out. Into Bob. He's trying to slow down Yoa and actually almost kills the Void. He's going to have to just walk away from this situation. Once again, BDZ to the rescue.
Yeah, just getting way too much setup there. Not done.
No, they found him again. Bob, he just wasn't far enough. He does not have any astral steps, so we have to really play around here. He gets to the high ground. Disruption there from BDZ. That may give time, but no, the Split Earth is going to come out from Ken, and they will return the tips back to Bob on the Void Spirit.
Really back and forth. Good punishment this time from Execration. Into the pit. You know there's no Ravage for a longer time, so you're going to be able to find that first Aegis of this game. BKB is up in Yoe as well. So he's got the spell immunity. He doesn't have to worry about the Ravage, and Vice needs to be careful here.
Oh, they go in again. Rupido right onto the high ground, going after Zenki, but he throws him to the low ground. Ken trying to take down Inryu. He's getting pretty low. BDZ from the back lines trying to sort this out as well. The Infest comes out. Inryu going to be safe for now, but still being chased down. Palos going to jump out. Inryu going to be left behind. Will eventually die, but Ken, he really wants that Lifestealer. He may have gone too far, however, or maybe not. Palos still in danger. Rupido going to jump back in. Palos still trying to turn back around and fight. Does kill off Ken. Bob, meanwhile, going after BDZ, but the disruption going to delay things just a little bit, but eventually they will get the Shadow Demon. Yoe trying to go after Bob, gets caught by the Aether Remnant. He does not have a Chrono. Ultimately, it does prove to be a little bit too far. Execration, they do give a couple kills away that they did not want to give away. It was a 2-for-2 trade in the end, but the goal definitely favored Vice Esports.
Yep, you still have the lead on Execration. However, Vice, because of those kills, do have some nice spikes here. Bob has the Aghanims up on his Void Spirit, so he's got the 2 charges on Resonant Pulse. He's got the AoE silence as well, and that is really a major spike for the Void Spirit. You're going to have to watch for that jump in from Bob now. You're going to be able to get a little bit more control in the back line. And really get some work done. However, Execration did manage to buy out the Aghanims upgrade on their Shadow Demon. They've got Demonic Purge on charges now. Makes it easier to control that Lifestealer and, in fact, control anyone. So you're going to have to watch yourself when BDZ's around.
Tide going to be in trouble. Yoe going to make the jump in, and Enryu, he is just not tanky whatsoever. Meanwhile, top lane, Yoe going to make a TP up. He wanted to go after Palos. But Palos did get an infested creep and just runs away. He's just fine. Mid lane. Mars not going to make the jump onto Bob. The Moonlight Shadow was still there. They might just set up for that tier 2 mid tower instead, as they have the Chrono to back them up.
Under attack.
Vice now, and they're still fighting into an Aegis every single time, so they've got to play a bit cautiously. There is some good split pushing coming out from Samael, trying to shove out that top into the tier 3 to buy some time, but the Execration won't bite the bait. There's only so much Mirana can do in a push. They can just easily go for this bot tier 2 now and try to look for more objectives if they want to do. They have the Chrono up. There is a Ravage up in Enryu, but it's into the BKB now. Enryu has to be on point for the Ravage, and the past 2-3 fights now, it just hasn't been on point. So Vice, it's starting to become all about Palos finding that farm on the Lifestealer.
Oh, they found Bob. Spear's gonna come out. Yoe is there with the damage. Rupido really enjoying himself now, giving the tips back to Bob once again. These are very, very big pickoffs on this Void Spirit.
Really is. We haven't seen Bob reveal his ags in any big way as well. They do manage to take out a very big courier that did have most of the parts for the AC of Palos. So his own item is going to be delayed by 3 minutes. Not a good sign. They need every single advantage they can eke out here. And remember, all of this farm right now in Vice is basically drained into the Life Stealer. You've given Enryu and Bob the back seat here to get Palos up. And with that item stalled out, that just means you have no presence for the next few fights. So Execration, they've still got about a minute on the Aegis. They should look to use it once more.
Dire are scanning for enemies.
Ken, having a look here for this Ogre. Zenki is going to be able to hide in the tree line and just go for a quick TP play out. Still Vice holding on to this game. Very, very tough though with that 15k net worth lead against them. Still not out of it though. It's definitely possible to bring this one back.
They've got to wait for this courier to be back. Like, they can't fight without the AC. They're going to have the Abyssal up in Palo soon, but they need those 2 minutes up for the AC to be done. There's just no point with that one item down. Execration, the Aegis is gone. It has expired, so they aren't playing with a safety net of a second life. Next Roche will find in about 2 minutes 40, just how long the respawn will be. But you've got this 14k lead at 32 minutes in. The face is void at this point. Going into the Scotty, going into the late game is just a massive beast. It's very hard to deal with. You're getting some space out for Rupido as well, as his BKB, finds one.
Well, they found the Ogre. Not the most important kill, but they'll definitely take it. With that Ogre down, they might just keep going for a bit more. Enryu has an infested lifestealer right now. Yoair might spot this out. They get the Yules off. Palos does not want to get caught like this, and he just will. Arrow does connect, however, they caught the Void out with the Arrow. Palos going to get a double kill now and try to turn this one back around, but he just doesn't have the damage output or the survivability. He will also drop. Bob, dissimulate. Trying to get out, but he's in big, big trouble. He's got an Astral Step in 1 second, but it will not be long enough. So they found the Void, but it just didn't matter.
No. It still is a net positive of gold here for Vice. That's just how far behind they are. Like, you look at that recap, you actually did gain gold on Palos. You gained a little bit of gold on Bob. And overall, it's still happy, but you're losing these heroes, and the defense just won't happen anymore.
Mid lane BDZ trying to set up there onto Samael, but Rupido did not have any mana to throw out a spear at the time. And so next team fight, Chrono is going to be up once again, which is definitely going to be pretty bad news for Vice Esports. On the brighter side, they have Ravage, but I just don't feel like these Ravages have been as impactful as you'd hope. And at this stage of the game where you've got BKBs up now, it's just that much worse.
It is. It's very, very hard for Enryu to find that angle. I think at this point, for Vice, you might just want to consider playing the high ground. You have really good defense. And the issue is you're trying to defend against a Void. Chrono is just going to ruin you if you clump up. So you need to weigh your options there. Roche, we're going to find that timer in about 20 seconds. Execration can set their eyes to that objective first before breaching the high ground and kind of securing their push up. They've got the Scotty up on Yoe as well. So any sort of healing that has been coming through is definitely gone, and they've got even more slows to play with.
Well, Yule's up. He's going to catch out Rupido. He's going to try and go after Zenki, and Zenki is going to die very easily to Ken. Even get his poor courier, which just had a sentry ward on it. Nothing too valuable, but they get it anyway. Looks like they want to try for the high ground attempt now. Infest is going to be out onto Enryu, looking to move in with that Ravage, and if they can blow up the Void pretty much straight away, it's definitely going to work out in their favor, but well, as soon as they see the Moonlight Shadow, Execration won't bother with it anymore. They back off, and nothing comes out of this infest.
There's a really quick Roche timer as well. It's already up if they wanted to go for that instead. And Vice, they're out of position to defend against it or even contest it. So Execration have a clear shot at Aegis and Cheese to secure that high ground. Very fortunate for them that the timer is that low. And should be a straightforward take. Vice, they're just so far away because of that movement out with the infest. Just the wrong part of the map already.
Roshan going to be taken down very easily. Moving down to the bot lane. Again, Palos, they do jump on the left track. He's gone too far. Ken trying to clear out the creep wave, assuming that there was only one hero around, but Henry was in the fog. Now they've killed off the left track, and that'll buy them even more time.
It's a nice pickup. That was Ravage pop, though. You know, that's a very big spell to commit for one hero. You will take what you can get. I think Execration not going to be too upset. They've still got the cheese when Ken does respawn. They will have options to jump back in. They've got Chrono while Ravage is down now. They should be aware of that, and they can just force the fight. This is very far forward from Yoe. He can be punished, but I don't know if Vice is even aware if Yoe is a bit forward here.
Arrow. Gonna connect. Does hit a creep. Zenki gonna move in, does get the Fire Blast off. Disruption is gonna be there. Rupido does move in, and now Yoe trying to go in for more. He goes after the Tidehunter, along with his Mars. Yoe gets the BKB straight into the Lifestealer with the Chrono, and that spells very bad news here. He's got the AC, but just not enough damage being blocked off by that armor. And Bob is still trying to fight this one out, but it's just way too late, and Yoe wants to keep going. He doesn't have detection though. So Bob should theoretically just be fine. I can't say the same about this Mirana though. It's caught out. Yoe should be there with the bashes, and Samael is going to drop, but he will buy back. Only problem being they don't have the buyback gold right now for this Lifestealer.
Yeah, there's no damage without that guy. At least Bob can rip through the supports, and he has been, but it's going to be hard to stop Yoe. He just switches lanes when he sees the repair kit, going to get some damage hit, and Rupido.
Yeah, nice arrow comes through, but they don't have Bob around to dish out the damage. Had Bob been there, maybe you could have tried to go after that Void and taken the Aegis away, but that's just not going to be the case now, and that tier 3 tower is going to drop. Henry is going to move in, trying to force Yoe away, but he's just going to jump back in after Enryu and the Fire Blast. Not going to be enough. Rupido, he has the damage. Luckily for them, backdoor protection is a thing, and they will survive another day. At least this Rax will. However, jump in again from this Mars. Still, Bob trying to get this Void, but Yoe, it's just going to be the Aegis. Bob, he'll Astral Step his way out. Yoe back into the Rax. Enryu is going to buy back as they have their Lifestealer back up very soon. Yoe going to go back in for the melee barracks, but no, he won't quite finish them. Bob going to try and follow up with an Aether Remnant. Palos going to be there with an Abyssal Blade. Arrow connects as well. The Arena, the Disruption going to save the day from BDZ. Yoe, BKB in time. The Ravage going to do absolutely nothing. Palos trying to fight this one out. He's going to have to infest and run though. He gets into Bob. Astral Step away. Is it going to be enough though? Dissimulate is there. Bob turns back around onto the Mars. Does get that. Samael, he'll die. Ken still moving in for more. Goes back in onto Bob. There's no buybacks left. They are looking really bad right now by Esports. Trying to buy as much time as possible with just one hero, but BDZ, he has the control. They will take down the Void Spirit, and that means it should be GG.
There's no defense they can do. They haven't tapped out yet, but this is still a fast push. You've got the Leshrac. That was down to the fact that the Abyssal came through. I believe that was the Abyssal stun from our Lesh, but it was right on top of Ken's stun. So he couldn't do anything in that downtime and just got punished. Or just fountain diving with a Chrono as well.
Yeah, they know
Styling
there's
in
no
the end.
buybacks. They know it's GG. It was a decent enough run from Vice Esports, but Execration proved to be a little bit better today. And congratulations to them, they will make it through to the round 2 of the lower bracket. And of course, the person they'll be versing will be finding out up next, John, as they are going to be in their own series today. I believe it's Motivate Trust versing Neon Esports coming up next.
Yeah, another close series. Execration and Vice, it's rather unfortunate. Both of these teams did have to face each other so early on in the lower bracket. Remember, both of these teams came through open qualifiers. This position in groups just unfortunate, but it is what it is. Execration move on. MG Trust up against Neon, a closer matchup. Two teams that you didn't necessarily expect to end up in the lower bracket, but that roster shakeup in C, really still feeling the shockwaves of it. So we'll have to see who does go home. MG Trust, they were the champs of the last 2 BTS tournaments, so they should be the favorites, but it's been up and down for them.
It certainly has, and up against Neon, they could be making their exit from the tournament if they're not too careful. We'll see what the game plan is from both teams, though, as we are going to take a 10-minute break, and after this 10-minute break, we'll be back with our final BO3 of the night between Motivate Trust and Neon Esports. We'll see you all again very soon.